In today's video, tech coach or instructional coach? A question from one of our viewers. Hello coaches! Welcome back to another episode of 5 Minute Friday from Eduro Learning. My name is Kim and I have been a tech coach and an instructional coach in international schools for over 20 years. As the CEO and founder of Eduro Learning, I am also the premium mentor for the Coach Microcredential, and I offer private coaching to educators all around the world. This question for today's episode specifically came from one of our viewers, but it's also a question that has come up a lot in my coaching conversations for both the coach participants and my private mentoring clients over the past few weeks. The question is, I am a full-time middle school instructional coach, but because of hybrid and remote learning, all I do is tech support. I feel like my talents are not being utilized, and I am super eager to start my real job. I'd love some tips on how to move away from tech support to real instructional support. When I received this question, I actually wrote back right away with a bunch of links and resources that I'll include in the description box below, because this is a topic even before remote and hybrid learning that coaches have been struggling with for years. It's something I know really well myself. So I'm excited to talk about this with you today and share some strategies that have worked for me and may work for you. Before I get into those strategies, though, I want to give a little bit of background. And I kind of have 3 key points that are background related. The first one is specific to our time and place right now. Hybrid learning and COVID-19 is extremely stressful for everyone. So you really need to pick and choose your battles. Sometimes it's more important to solve a tech problem for a teacher rather than find a way to demonstrate your role. You're building relationships, you're helping them feel supported and valued, you're demonstrating that you know you can listen to them and solve a problem when they need it. We can't do this forever, but even in a previous Coach Better episode, way before COVID-19, elementary principal and deputy head of school, now in Dresden, but formerly in Thailand here with me, Beth Dressler talks about picking your battles as an instructional coach. Sometimes it just pays to do the thing a teacher or an administrator needs in that moment because you're demonstrating your value to them in a way that they really understand. My second background information, this specific question refers to the person being new to their coaching role. And when you're new, you really need to focus on building relationships. And sometimes that means doing things that are not really your job, but visibly help teachers. And I learned this lesson so beautifully from a librarian when I was working at International School Bangkok, Tara Etheridge, who we've also interviewed on the podcast, and I'll link that up above here somewhere. Doing things that you may not perceive as your role, but others do, especially at the beginning, can really show how you can support teachers, build a relationship, and build some trust with them. Basically, every interaction you have with pretty much everyone is like a bank account. And you want to start that bank account putting money into the account so that later when you have an idea you want to try with a teacher or a risk you want them to take, you can make a withdrawal. So early in the year, early in your relationship, you want to be adding as much money as you can to that bank account. Given both of those things, picking your battles and understanding that you might want to be paying into a bank account to build a relationship, the last thing I think is really important to remember is that on an everyday basis, you are what you do. Every day is a clean slate, and every day you're demonstrating to teachers what your role is. If you allow yourself to be caught up in tech support every day for months and months and months, turning into an entire academic year, that's what your role will be, because every day you're proving again and again that that's what your job is. So as much as you can, once you feel like you have really understood exactly what teachers need and you're choosing the right moments, you can start to say no to these kinds of things so that you're building an understanding of your role as an instructional coach. And that's what the rest of this episode is going to be about. How do you do that? Okay, so we know that it's important to make these choices to say or act in these ways based on our understanding of what teachers need. So I've got kind of 5 specific strategies to help you essentially say no to things that aren't your job. My first strategy is to transfer and clarify. And the purpose behind this strategy is to demonstrate to the teacher that they are asking an important, valid, useful question, but you're just not the right person to be answering that question, even if sometimes you do know the answer. So usually I like to maybe paraphrase the question back and say, oh, that's a really excellent question. This is what I think you're looking for. Here's the person that can help you. And maybe the person that can help them is the tech support, and you've got a ticket system and they send an email so you can show them how to do that. Or maybe the person is, sitting right next to you and you can point to that person, or they're in a specific office and you can send them there. The purpose of this kind of process is to recognize that the question is important, it's valid, you understand what they're asking, but it's not something that you can help them with, but there's someone who is. You're not just saying a flat no and kind of walking away or ending the email, you're actually giving them the next step in solving that problem. If, for whatever reason, this does not solve that particular issue at that time, and whatever it is you can't resolve right now and it's not worth your time for whatever reason, you can't do it right now. What I like to say as a backup is, oh, that's a great question. I think I have some strategies for you. Would you like to set aside a time with me so we can learn together? And then in that session, I will be prepared with some kind of template or notes form or tutorial video, some sort of resources about this specific thing. And in this session, I will ask the teacher, what do you think you need to help you remember how to do this when I'm not available to support you? And maybe that's the printout of the notes, maybe that's my own notes that I wrote for them, maybe that's the video tutorial, maybe it's a link back to something that I've given them before. The purpose is that before you leave that room, that conversation, you and the teacher have clarified that this teacher or this person has a strategy in place to know how to do this thing the next time they need to know how to do it. Because the problem is, anytime you're getting tech support in the moment, it all makes sense and it sounds easy and you think you can do it. But the next time you try to do it on your own, if you have no resources and you have no documentation, maybe you can't even remember the first step. And then, of course, the first thing you're going to do is reach out to the last person who helped you with that thing. So giving them that bit of scaffolding, basically essentially the same that you would do with a student, can help them be independent next time. Along those lines, if you don't already have it already, this is kind of an integrated suggestion within the Transfer and Clarify, have a website or a space where you have tutorials for commonly asked questions. You don't necessarily have to create all those videos, but if you curate them and put them in one place so that whenever teachers ask you the same type of question, you can say, oh, I made a video about that, here's the link. Or, oh, that's on our tutorials website, here's the link. So that you're constantly reinforcing that this information does exist, it's an important question, teachers have it, but here's the way to find it out. If they really can't figure it out from that video, let me know where you get stuck, and then I can support you there. Sometimes actually we think we've made a tutorial video that's really helpful and we send it out to teachers and the same question keeps coming back, and then you recognize, oh, I missed a step or that step wasn't clear in that tutorial video. So it is good to give a little bit of a leeway about potentially having trouble following the video so that if there is a gap in there, you can either recreate the video or do another video that will help them with that particular part of the process. Okay, so that first step was transfer and clarify, and basically the idea behind that is to provide them the right person to solve this problem so that you are not continually solving the same problem. The second strategy, and this is kind of a preemptive strategy and something you can start doing even in the relationship building process, is research and apply. And in this case, I'm thinking that as a coach, you really need to understand your teacher's needs. In business and marketing, we might talk about a needs analysis. You can do this by exploring curriculum maps, visiting classrooms, virtual or face-to-face, attending meetings, virtual or face-to-face, and just asking questions of teachers about what they need. And then making sure to pitch ideas that fit within your role when you're having further follow-up conversations. So if you notice in the curriculum map that there's a great opportunity for you to support something instructional coaching related, that's what I would approach the teacher with. If you notice in a team meeting or a classroom visit that there's something you can support with, that's what I would approach the teacher with. That way you're kind of reinforcing through the conversations you're initiating what your job is, as opposed to what a preconceived notion of what your job might be. My third strategy is to share successes, and this is something I've talked about in lots of different videos, so I'll try to make sure I link something up here as well. and that is to work with the people who are interested in working with you as an instructional coach, and then share the great work that you do. If possible, have the teacher who worked with you share those great results. So maybe they share in a faculty meeting, or maybe there's a newsletter that goes out, or an email, or that same tutorials portal might have examples of great projects teachers have done. That's a place to build momentum and to help other teachers recognize how you can be valuable, but from the teacher perspective. My fourth strategy is to do your best to support teachers in planning in advance. I think as coaches, we all know we are often kind of roped in at the last minute. Oh, I'm doing such and such in my classroom today. Can you come help me? And while oftentimes we can, it can be really stressful to be put under the microscope in that very moment to do that thing that you really have no idea what's happening because you've just kind of got pulled in on that very day. So one of the things I like to talk about with teachers as I'm kind of doing that needs analysis, as I'm visiting classrooms, as I'm attending meetings, as I'm looking at curriculum maps, is asking them questions like, what's not working? Where do students struggle? And focus on the areas where the teacher can use instructional support because things aren't working in their classroom, as opposed to the teacher heard about this tech tool, or there's a great tech tool you can use with this. Let's focus on the learning that's happening in your classroom and see if I can support that. And when you start having those kind of conversations, it becomes a little bit more natural to plan a little farther in advance. Final strategy for today is to flat out say no, but then also move into that transfer and clarify. So this kind of brings this video full circle. So if you have supported this particular teacher many times with the same issue, you have given them a lot of other opportunities to learn how to do this thing, you have really gone out of your way to build that relationship, and now you're at the point where you're like just pulling your hair out, what else can you do? I know we're not supposed to apologize all the time, but I always will say, I'm really sorry. I can't help you with that right now. I know that so-and-so could help you, or we could work on this together and then give a date. And if I was being, really frustrated by the situation and it was something that had gone on for a really long time, I would give a date that's like kind of unreasonable. So a week away or 2 weeks away, depending on what's going on, because that gives them time to use all those other strategies that you've given them before the meeting with you. And if you intentionally pick a day that you know is not really going to work for them, they will try to go out of their way and figure those things out. You're also giving them the opportunity that if they are feeling just like they cannot handle it and the best thing they can do is wait and meet with you, then if they're willing to wait 2 weeks to meet with you about something that you've already given them a template for, they already have a video for, you've already modeled it in their classroom, whatever this thing is, it's really stressing them out and you probably should meet with them. So that's kind of like the last step, I would say, in this cycle of things that I try to do to support teachers' understanding of the difference between tech support and instructional coaching. Hopefully those 5 strategies can be helpful for you in one instance or another. They were, number 1, to transfer and clarify. Number 2, to research and apply. Number 3, to share successes. And number 4, to encourage planning in advance. And number 5, to say no. If you have other questions about coaching, please leave us a comment here, send me an email, tweet me at Miss Cafino or at Eduro Learning. We'd love to hear the questions you have about coaching, and we'd love to support you by creating more 5 Minute Friday videos like this. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please visit us at COACHBETTER TV to see all of the great resources we have for coaching, and at edurolearning.com to see all of our professional learning opportunities we have for coaches, teachers, and school leaders. We've got a lot going on. Please reach out and let us know if you have any questions. We'd love to support you.